Let me ask you something that might be uncomfortable. When did you last actually look at your pantry? Not glance at it while grabbing something quickly, but genuinely assess whether what's sitting on those shelves could carry your household through a rough week? Most people think a stocked pantry means a full pantry. Those are two very different things, and summer is the season that exposes that difference faster than anything else. Here is what summer actually does to a household, and this part often catches people off guard. Fresh meat prices creep up quietly. Kids come home from school and suddenly there are 3 meals a day happening in your kitchen instead of 1 or maybe 2. The electric bill climbs because the AC is running constantly. And then there is the wild card, a local power outage, a bad storm, a stretch of days where going to the grocery store just does not happen the way you planned. Any one of those things alone is manageable. All of them together? That is when a disorganized pantry starts to feel like a real problem. But here's what I want to make clear right from the start. This is not about panic buying. This is not about stacking cans to the ceiling or turning your spare bedroom into a bunker. This is about being the kind of person who looks at their kitchen intelligently, figures out what is actually missing, and fills those gaps before summer starts putting pressure on everything. A genuinely useful pantry is not just a collection of calories. It is a system. It has meal foundations, protein sources, fats that make food feel like food, flavor, breakfast options, snacks that actually satisfy, and the small comforts that keep a household feeling like itself, even when things get a little chaotic. So let us go through the items that will tell you whether your pantry is a working system or just a shelf full of things that sit there looking busy. 12. Canned tomatoes. Start with this question instead of the obvious one. Most people walk into their pantry and ask, "Do I have enough food?" The better question is, can the food in here actually become a real meal? That shift in thinking changes everything, and it is exactly why canned tomatoes land on this list before rice, before pasta, before any of the bigger, more obvious staples. Here is the problem with how most people approach pantry stocking. They buy rice, they buy beans, they buy pasta and flour, and maybe some dried lentils, and then they feel prepared. But when they actually sit down to cook, when they are tired after a long day or just not feeling creative, they realize something frustrating. The raw ingredients are there, but the meals are not. Everything is just sitting separately with nothing to pull it together. Canned tomatoes are the thing that pulls it together. A can of crushed tomatoes or tomato sauce does not just add flavor, it adds structure to a meal. It gives pasta something to cling to. It turns plain beans into something that tastes like it was actually cooked with intention. It softens white rice into something with color and warmth. It becomes the base of soup, the liquid in a chili, the foundation of a stew that uses up whatever canned proteins you have sitting around. Think about a summer week when your kids are home every day, and you are putting together lunch and dinner from scratch more often than you are used to. A few cans of tomatoes in the pantry is the difference between a decent pasta dinner in 20 minutes and standing there at 6 p.m. wondering if it is worth ordering pizza again. Not because you are in survival mode, but because a simple can of tomato sauce connected all the other ingredients you already had. That is the real purpose of this item. It does not just add calories, it makes everything else in your pantry more edible, more useful, and more like an actual meal, rather than a collection of dry ingredients that require effort and imagination to assemble. Check your canned tomatoes before May ends. You probably want more than you think. 11. Dry pasta. Pasta is one of those things that feels too obvious to mention, and that is exactly why so many people either forget to check it or underestimate how much they actually rely on it. The real value of dry pasta is not what it is what it does. Think about everything that tends to pile up in a pantry. Canned chickpeas, a jar of tomato sauce, a can of tuna, some olive oil, dried herbs, maybe a can of diced vegetables. Any one of those things sitting alone is not really a meal. It is an ingredient looking for a purpose. Pasta gives all of those things a reason to exist in the same pot. Without pasta, your pantry might have everything it needs nutritionally, but nothing that comes together into something satisfying. With pasta, a can of tuna and some olive oil becomes a dinner in 15 minutes. Leftover beans and tomatoes become something that feels genuinely cooked. A small amount of protein stretches into a meal that actually fills people up. This matters even more in summer. Kids are home. They eat more. They eat more often. The number of times per week you hear, "What's for lunch?" doubles or triples, and the pressure of coming up with answers gets exhausting fast. Pasta reduces the number of decisions you have to make. It is fast, it is familiar, and almost every person in every household will eat it without complaint. For anyone living alone, especially older adults, pasta is even more valuable for a different reason. Some days cooking feels like too much effort. The heat makes standing in the kitchen uncomfortable. The motivation to put together something elaborate just is not there. Pasta does not ask much of you. It requires water, heat, and about 10 minutes, and it will work with almost anything else you add to it. If you manage blood sugar, watch your portions and consider pasta made from lentils, chickpeas, or whole grains. If you avoid gluten, there are plenty of alternatives. But whatever version fits your household, make sure it is actually in your pantry before summer arrives. 10. White rice is one of those pantry items that almost everyone has and almost everyone misunderstands. The mistake is not buying rice. The mistake is buying rice and thinking you are done. Rice is not a pantry strategy. Rice is a foundation, and a foundation without walls, a roof, and actual structure is just a floor. You cannot live in a house that only has a floor. What rice does well is fill. It stretches a small amount of protein into a larger meal. It pairs with almost anything: canned fish, beans, chicken, vegetables, sauces, stews, and makes the whole thing more substantial. When the grocery budget is tight and you need to feed people without spending a lot, rice is one of the tools that helps you do that. But if your pantry is mostly rice and not much else, you are going to hit a wall very quickly. Not a calorie wall, a meal wall. After 2 or 3 days of eating rice with minimal variety, people start to lose interest in eating at home at all. That is when the takeout orders start. That is when the budget starts leaking. Rice needs companions. It needs the canned beans that make it filling and give it protein. It needs the canned tomatoes that give it color and flavor. It needs the cooking oil that makes it feel like it was actually cooked with care. It needs the spices and the canned proteins that make eating it feel like a choice rather than a fallback. For older adults, rice has some great practical qualities. It is easy to cook soft for those who need gentler textures. It can be turned into porridge, fried rice, or soup with minimal effort. It portions easily and does not waste. Just be mindful of blood sugar and choose brown rice or smaller portions if that is a concern. Check your rice, yes, but also check what is going with it. Hey, if you are finding this helpful, take 2 seconds to like, comment, and subscribe. It genuinely helps more people find this kind of content. 9. Canned beans. The single best argument for canned beans over dry beans has nothing to do with nutrition. It has to do with the moment you actually need them. Dry beans are cheaper. Dry beans store for a very long time. Dry beans are great, but dry beans need soaking, sometimes overnight. They need a long cook time. They heat up your kitchen and demand your attention for hours. And on the day when you are tired, when it is 95 degrees outside, when you just want to put something together quickly and sit down, dry beans are not your friend. Canned beans are already cooked. You open the can, rinse them if you want to reduce the sodium, and they are ready. Into soup, into rice, into a quick salad, alongside some scrambled eggs, or just as a side with a drizzle of olive oil and some seasoning. They do not ask anything of you when you have the least to give. That is actually a critical feature of a smart pantry that most people skip over entirely. They only ask how long a food will last. But a better question is, on the day I actually need to use this, how much work will it require? Canned beans answer that honestly. Not much work, not much time, not much energy. The protein and fiber in beans are also worth noting. They keep you full longer than most carbohydrates, which means smaller amounts of food go further. A can of black beans mixed into rice with some spices is a genuinely satisfying meal, not just something that technically counts as dinner. Watch sodium if that is a concern for anyone in your household, and choose varieties your family will actually eat. Beans that sit in the pantry untouched for 3 years because nobody likes them are not a pantry asset. they are clutter. 8. Lentils. Lentils sit in a very specific and useful spot in the pantry ecosystem. They are dry, so they store well and take up very little space. They are cheap, genuinely cheap, often cheaper per serving than almost anything else in the protein category. And unlike most dry legumes, they do not require soaking. Depending on the type, they cook in 20 to 30 minutes, which puts them in a completely different category of convenience than dry beans. When meat prices go up, and they tend to every summer, families start making quiet adjustments. Smaller portions, cheaper cuts, or just cooking meat less often. Lentils fill that gap without making anyone feel like they are eating a lesser meal. They go into soups beautifully. They cook together with rice in a way that makes the whole dish more substantial. They blend into stews and take on whatever flavors you cook them with: spices, tomatoes, garlic, herbs. Red lentils in particular are very forgiving for people who are new to cooking with them. They break down completely when cooked, which means they thicken a soup or stew naturally without any extra effort. Green and brown lentils hold their shape better, which makes them good for salads or side dishes where you want some texture. For anyone who needs a high-protein, shelf-stable food that does not take hours to prepare, lentils are underrated. Start with a small bag if your household has not used them much before. Find 1 or 2 recipes you enjoy, then make them a regular part of your rotation. 7. Canned sardines. This is the one item on the list that gets the most pushback, and it is worth talking about why that pushback is worth ignoring. Nobody is asking you to love sardines. Nobody is suggesting you serve them at a dinner party or make them the centerpiece of a family meal. The argument for sardines in your pantry is entirely practical, and once you see it that way, the conversation becomes a lot simpler. Sardines are protein that is already cooked, already shelf-stable, requires zero preparation, and can be eaten straight from the can if necessary. They have omega-3 fatty acids, which most people do not get enough of. Some varieties have soft edible bones, which adds calcium, something that actually matters for older adults. And they are small, cheap, and last a long time. In a pantry context, sardines fill the gap between "I need protein right now" and "I have time to cook." Eaten with crackers, stirred into pasta, mixed with rice and a little hot sauce, layered onto toast with some lemon, they become a real meal without turning on the stove for long. The power outage scenario is the clearest use case. When the power goes out in summer, your frozen meat is on a clock. Your fresh produce wilts. Your refrigerator becomes a question mark. But sardines? They sit there completely unbothered and ready whenever you need them. If the taste is a genuine barrier, try sardines packed in olive oil or with added flavors like mustard or tomato sauce. Or swap for canned tuna or canned salmon if that works better for your household. The specific fish matters less than the principle. Have a ready-to-eat canned protein that does not need refrigeration. 6. Canned chicken. Canned chicken does not have the drama of a beautifully seared chicken breast. It does not look impressive. It does not make anyone excited when they see it in the pantry. But that is not what it is there for. Canned chicken is there for the moment when you forgot to thaw something, when lunch happened faster than you expected, when you need to add protein to a meal that is already halfway done, when the kids are asking what is for lunch and you have about 10 minutes and limited patience. You open the can, drain it, and it is ready. Into pasta with some tomato sauce, it becomes a quick chicken pasta. Mixed with mayo, mustard, and pickles, it becomes a chicken salad sandwich. Stirred into soup, it makes the whole pot more filling. Added to rice with some spices and vegetables, it becomes a complete meal that took almost no effort. For families with young children, this kind of shortcut is not laziness, it is sanity. Summer changes the rhythm of a household significantly, and having a reliable, familiar protein that does not require planning is a genuine asset. For older adults, the appeal is different, but just as real. Cooking with raw meat involves handling, careful temperature management, and cleanup. Canned chicken skips most of that. It is already cooked. The only thing you have to do is make it taste like something you want to eat, and with the right additions, that is not hard. Check your sodium levels on the label and choose low-sodium varieties if blood pressure is a concern. Quick pause. If this is useful, hit that like button and subscribe. More practical content like this coming regularly. 5. Oats breakfast is the quietest part of the budget to overspend on, and summer is when it gets worst. When school is in session, breakfast has a routine. The same cereal, the same toast, the same quick yogurt before everyone runs out the door. But in summer, breakfast spreads out. Kids are home longer. Mornings are lazier. And somehow the combination of slightly more time and slightly less structure leads to more spending, grabbing pastries, buying drive-through breakfast, letting the kids eat packaged snacks because it is easier than cooking. None of those things is dramatic on their own. Together, over the course of a summer, they add up significantly. Oats fix this without making anyone feel deprived. A container of rolled oats costs very little and lasts for months in a cool, dry place. You can cook them hot in a few minutes on the stove or in the microwave. You can soak them overnight in the refrigerator with some milk and fruit and have breakfast ready when you wake up. You can bake with them, blend them into smoothies, or use them to make simple granola. The toppings are where oats become genuinely satisfying rather than just adequate. Nut butter adds protein and fat. A drizzle of honey adds sweetness without needing a lot. Cinnamon is cheap and makes everything taste warmer. Dried fruit, a sliced banana, a small amount of jam, whatever works for your household. The base is inexpensive and flexible enough to adapt to almost any preference. For anyone managing blood sugar, the key is keeping the toppings from turning a bowl of oats into a sugar delivery system. Skip the flavored instant packets, which often have surprising amounts of sugar, and season plain oats yourself so you control what goes in. Steel-cut oats take longer but have a slightly lower glycemic impact. Quick oats are more convenient. Old-fashioned rolled oats are a solid middle ground. Choose what your household will actually use consistently. 4. Nut butter. There is a gap between meals that most pantries completely ignore, and it is one of the most expensive gaps in a family's food budget without anyone realizing it. That gap is the moment when someone is hungry, but it is not quite mealtime. It is 4 p.m. and dinner is at 6. It is 10 a.m. and breakfast was early. It is after school and before whatever is happening next. In that gap, people make impulsive decisions. They grab packaged snacks. They stop at a convenience store. They eat whatever is easiest and most visible, which is often not the most useful or affordable option. Nut butter closes that gap efficiently. 2 tablespoons of peanut butter carry around 190 calories, 7 to 8 grams of protein, and roughly 16 grams of fat. That combination of protein and fat is what actually keeps people satisfied, not just full for 20 minutes. A piece of bread with peanut butter, a few crackers spread with almond butter, a spoonful stirred into oatmeal, a little dollop alongside a sliced apple. These are not elaborate snacks. They are quick, genuinely filling, and much cheaper than any packaged alternative. For households with older adults, nut butter has an additional role. There are days when a full meal feels like too much. Before taking medication, between a light lunch and an early dinner, as a small energy boost before an activity. A small amount of nut butter with a cracker or a piece of fruit provides real nutrition without requiring anyone to commit to a whole meal. Store nut butter in a cool place and check the expiration date. Natural peanut butters without added oils or stabilizers should be kept in the refrigerator after opening. If anyone in your household has a nut allergy, sunflower seed butter is a reasonable alternative in many cases. Buy a size that you will actually rotate through, not the largest jar if it is going to sit for a year. 3. Powdered milk. Most people only reach for powdered milk when they have run out of fresh milk and the store feels too far. That is a narrow use of something that deserves a more consistent place in a functional pantry. Here is the actual value of powdered milk. It makes other foods better. Stirred into oatmeal, it makes a bowl feel more like a real breakfast and less like hot mush. Added to coffee, it replaces the need for fresh creamer without a refrigerator. Mixed into soup or mashed potatoes, it adds a richness that water alone cannot provide. Used in pancake batter or simple baked goods, it does exactly what fresh milk would do. In summer, the refrigerator becomes more of a vulnerability than people expect. A power outage that lasts more than 4 hours starts threatening everything inside. Fresh milk has a short shelf life, even under normal conditions. And rising grocery prices often push dairy products into the category of things people start buying less of. Powdered milk does not solve all of that, but it provides a reliable backup layer so that a household's reliance on fresh refrigerated dairy is at least somewhat reduced. The nutritional profile of reconstituted powdered milk is quite close to fresh milk in terms of calcium and protein, though some fat-soluble vitamins may differ depending on the variety. For households where dairy is important for nutrition, particularly for older adults or growing children, this matters. People with lactose intolerance should look for lactose-free dried milk or consider alternatives. Keep opened powdered milk in an airtight container away from moisture and heat and rotate it regularly. It does not last forever once opened. 2. Cooking oil. Here is a pantry scenario that actually happens more than people admit. The kitchen has rice, beans, pasta, canned vegetables, canned chicken, spices. Everything looks ready, and then someone tries to cook dinner and realizes there is no oil. Suddenly, the rice is dry and sticks to the pan. The beans have no richness. The pasta tastes flat. The canned chicken has nothing to bind it to anything else. Cooking oil is not a supporting ingredient. It is infrastructure. It is what turns a collection of stored foods into something that resembles cooking. It carries heat. It prevents sticking. It delivers flavor. It adds satiety, because fat is what keeps you full and satisfied after a meal in a way that carbohydrates alone cannot. From a calorie density standpoint, cooking oil is also one of the most concentrated energy sources in a pantry. A single tablespoon contains around 120 calories, which means a small amount goes a long way toward making meals more substantial without adding a lot of bulk or cost. The practical applications are wide. Sautéing aromatics before adding beans or lentils dramatically improves the flavor of both. Drizzling olive oil over pasta or roasted vegetables elevates a simple dish. Cooking canned fish or chicken in a small amount of oil gives it texture and richness. Even something as basic as frying eggs requires oil or butter, and fried eggs are one of the most reliable, fast, cheap protein options available. Oil does go rancid faster in heat and light. Store it in a cool, dark cupboard and check the smell before using if it has been sitting for a while. Rancid oil tastes terrible and is worth replacing. Choose the variety that fits your household's actual cooking habits. Vegetable oil for general use, olive oil for more flavor-forward dishes, avocado oil for high-heat cooking. Before we get to number 1, if this has been genuinely useful, drop a comment below and subscribe. It helps a lot. 1. Coffee or tea. This is the item on this list that has the least to do with nutrition and the most to do with how a household actually functions as a household. There is a specific kind of morning that signals a household is starting to fray. It is not when the pantry runs out of food. It is the first morning when there is nothing familiar to start the day with. No coffee, no tea, no small ritual that tells the body and the brain that the day is beginning the normal way. That is a surprisingly disorienting thing, and underestimating it is a mistake. For many people, especially older adults living alone, that first cup of something warm is not just a habit, it is an anchor. It is what happens before the medication gets taken, before the news gets checked, before the day gets figured out. It is a small signal of normalcy in a routine that is otherwise fairly unpredictable. Removing it, even temporarily, makes everything else feel slightly more chaotic. From a budget standpoint, the argument is equally clear. Coffee and tea bought at home cost a fraction of what they cost at a cafe or drive-thru. During a summer when electric bills are already higher, when kids are eating more meals at home, when groceries are more expensive, the daily purchased coffee or tea can represent a surprising amount of money, leaving the household without much notice. A bag of good coffee or a box of quality tea takes up almost no pantry space and goes a long way. Keep options that suit everyone in the household. Caffeinated, decaf, herbal, black tea, green tea. The specific beverage matters less than the principle. Preserve the small ritual that helps people feel like their morning is still theirs, even when other things are unpredictable. A well-stocked pantry is not just a food system, it is a comfort system. And sometimes the most important thing in a comfort system is a small cup that costs almost nothing and starts the day on familiar ground. Additional items worth checking. Since we are being thorough, here are a few more items that deserve a spot in any serious summer pantry conversation. Honey or maple syrup natural sweeteners that do not require refrigeration, and do not expire in any practical sense. Honey, in particular, has an almost indefinite shelf life when stored properly. Beyond sweetening oatmeal or tea, honey has mild antimicrobial properties and can substitute for sugar in many recipes. A jar of honey is small, cheap relative to how long it lasts, and does a surprising amount of work in a pantry that is leaning on simple foods. Salt, pepper, and basic spices. This sounds too obvious to say, but a shocking number of pantries are full of food and nearly empty of spices. Salt is not just seasoning, it is preservation and palatability. A dish of beans and rice with the right spices is a genuinely enjoyable meal. The same dish with nothing added is punishment. Before summer arrives, take stock of your spice cabinet. Cumin, garlic powder, paprika, dried oregano, chili flakes, and black pepper cost very little and transform everything they touch. These are not luxuries. They are what makes the difference between food you want to eat and food you are eating because you have to. Apple cider vinegar. A bottle of ACV is one of those pantry items that quietly earns its place. A splash adds brightness to beans, dressings, marinades, and soups in a way that cuts through heaviness and wakes up flavors. It also has a very long shelf life. People use it for everything from salad dressings to a simple drink with water. It is inexpensive and compact and tends to be underrepresented in pantries that focus only on bulk calories. If you made it this far, you are serious about being prepared. Subscribe so you do not miss the next one, and leave a comment telling us which item you are adding to your pantry this week. Crackers or rice cakes. When the goal is a quick snack or a light meal that does not require cooking, crackers become very useful. They are the delivery vehicle for nut butter, canned fish, cheese if you have it, or hummus if that is in the rotation. They also extend how useful items like sardines or canned salmon become, because having something to put them on makes the whole thing feel more like eating and less like snacking out of a can directly. Rice cakes have a longer shelf life than most crackers and are a solid alternative for anyone avoiding gluten or just wanting something lighter. Dried fruit raisins, apricots, dates, cranberries. These take up almost no space, do not require refrigeration, and add a meaningful amount of quick energy in a small package. Mixed into oatmeal, eaten alongside nut butter, added to a rice or grain dish, or just eaten as a small snack. Dried fruit fills a role that is easy to overlook but genuinely useful, especially for kids who need quick energy between meals or for anyone who needs something easy to eat when appetite is low. The actual point of all of this here is what this whole list is really about, and it is worth saying clearly before we wrap up. A full pantry and a useful pantry are not the same thing. Most households that feel unprepared actually have plenty of food. What they do not have is the right food in the right combination. They have rice but no flavor. They have canned goods but no oil to cook them in. They have breakfast food but no protein to go with it. They have enough to survive but not enough to actually eat well. And eating well is what keeps a household functional, calm, and spending within its budget. Summer tests this in a specific way. The combination of kids home more often, heat that makes cooking feel harder, grocery prices that tend to shift, and the occasional disruption, whether a power outage, a missed shopping trip, or a week that just got away from you. All of it means your pantry gets used more intensively and tested more often. The items on this list are not dramatic. None of them are expensive or hard to find. But together they represent a pantry that can actually produce real meals, real breakfasts, real snacks, and maintain some sense of household normalcy even when things get unpredictable. Go check your pantry today. Not in a panic, but with a clear head and a practical eye. Walk through each category: meal foundations, protein, fat, flavor, breakfast, snacks, comfort. Figure out where the gaps are. Fill them thoughtfully before June starts and summer puts your kitchen to the test. And then genuinely tell us in the comments, which item from this list is the one your pantry is most missing right now? Your answer might be the thing that reminds someone else to prepare before they need it. Found this valuable? Like, comment, and subscribe. More practical content like this every week.